And joining me now from Ottawa is Ellie Benzaken. Thank you so much for being on the CJN Daily.
Thank you, Ellen. Thanks for having me.
It's really great to meet you. As we speak, the news is changing by the minute, but we'll do our best to catch up on all the developments with the protest in Ottawa, where you personally went down to see it with your own eyes. So let me ask you, what motivated you to go and see it firsthand instead of just staying home and away from all the craziness?
Well, I was motivated because I have been affected myself, as we all have, by the whole situation over the last 10 years, last 2 years, I should say.
Seems like 10 years, I get you.
Yeah, it seems like 10 years. But in a few ways, as well, religiously, as well as a Jew, it affected me. And I was actually encouraged by seeing that, because I do believe that a lot of our freedoms have been suppressed and curtailed, and it's necessary to speak up. The truth is, we live in a democracy where the government should have a certain checks and balances, you know, as they say in the United States, and it seemed like there's no opposition. So there was no one speaking up for the other side to perhaps look more critically at the science, at the medical interventions and the lockdowns and the restrictions. So I really have felt that it is necessary for someone to speak up and about these freedoms. We do have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms, ironically put together by the father of the current Prime Minister, and those seem to have been trampled without legislation, without discussion in Parliament. So that really concerned me. I guess I am very, having traveled around the world a bit. I've been in Venezuela, actually. I didn't mention that to you earlier. I saw what happened there. I lived in the United States for a bit. So I like to be aware of what's going on around me in the world. Yeah.
I do have to jump in here with a point of order, as we say, and there were legislation passed, there were regulations debated in the House of Commons, as well as legislation passed in the provinces. So I just have to correct you on that point. Maybe not enough for you, but they definitely were. But let's talk about, so you went down to the protests to talk to some of the people, you know,
to see for myself.
Yeah. And so why did you go? You know, what motivated you to specifically check out certain things there?
I wanted to speak to some of the people there. I wanted to get a feel of the atmosphere. There was a lot of talk about anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic paraphernalia, flags, etc. That concerned me. I'm not oblivious to that. I didn't see any. I did see one picture that was circulated very widely and repeatedly, and I did see the Confederate flag video where the guy was told to leave. He didn't seem to be part of it. I did not see any of that. I've been there a couple of times, once with a friend. I did not see anything other than the Canadian flag. I see the Canadian flag behind you, Ellen, and it's almost become a symbol of the protests. I see in France, they're actually flying the French flag as well as the Canadian flag. You know, they're doing other convoys. So it's quite interesting. It's exciting as well. I think I watched one of the podcasts that you did with one of the counter protests, and she was saying how wonderful it is to be with other people outside and to gather together. So everyone is enjoying the ability to sort of get out of this prison that we've been into. And you know, the science, Omicron, what I've read and what I understand and what we've seen is it's much less virulent than it was initially. So there comes a time where the restrictions should end, in my opinion, and that's where all this has come about. Like, we've been questioning, like, the Talmud says that one of the questions we're asked when we leave this world is, and it's very interesting, in addition to the fact, were we honest in business? Did we set aside time for Torah study? Another one is, that's not very well known, is did we understand things within the matter? Hamevin davar mitoch davar. In other words, you don't take things superficially, you look into it deeply. So I've read more than what the media shows, and I've been questioning. I mean, being a Jew means questioning. That's what the Seder is all about. And being a Jew means being free, not having the dominance of man over us, to have the ability to question. And I didn't see much of that coming. And I've been kind of restricted from my own shul to attend synagogue. And that's been difficult for me, painful for me, you know.
Well, let's unpack what you mentioned. There's quite a bit
Okay.
here. First of
Yeah.
all, you said that it's impact the vaccine mandates and lockdowns have impacted your business, your career. Describe what
Yes.
happened in your job.
Well, in my job, because of the security where I worked, I was not able to take my work home with me. It had to be contained in a secure area. So I was let go from my work for over a year. I've begun working again, this time from home with a different department. So that had an impact, certainly. But you know what, initially, when this first started, we didn't know what was happening. We all accepted the lockdowns, you know, and that was fine. We understood something serious was happening. But then as time went on, we didn't see a relaxation of the restrictions, and that's what brought us to there. So, I mean, I'm working now, but I've only been working a couple of months. So it's been quite a long time that I was out of work. That's my situation.
What did you do what did you do to get money and food in that time? Were you on CERB or
managed, and we save. I did get a bit of CERB as well. You know, I'm not the only income earner in the home, and I do some other things as well. So, you know, we manage, and we have our faith to keep us going, and we don't lose faith. You know,
now tell me about you mentioned about you couldn't go into the office because of security reasons, but and also the documents. But in terms of vaccination, how did you navigate personally that requirement or that?
The vaccination was another issue that I had a problem with. But I did initially. My son is a doctor. He did encourage me to take the first one, but he was very much opposed to the other one. I forget the name now, but anyways, he told me to switch from the AstraZeneca. There was many issues with that initially, to switch to Pfizer. So I did that. And then I hesitated taking the second one. And I only took the second vaccine when I had a job offered to me. And I knew that I'd have to make a choice. So I did it unwillingly. I felt I was coerced to do it. We've been careful. We've been taking precautions and respecting people's spaces, etc.
Did you get COVID by any chance?
I did not get it. Not that I know of. I haven't been tested, but as far as I know, I did not get sick during this time. But we've been very isolated at the same time, you know.
And back to that, you mentioned that, you know, going down to the protest was sort of freilich in a way. People were together. They were having a good time, as far as you saw, right?
I would encourage people to go. There's nothing to fear. People are very happy. They seem, you know, I see families with children going there. People are hugging each other. There is a positive atmosphere. They're handing out food. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. And, you know, about the symbolism of hate, I mean, as I said, I didn't see that. And it could be that there were some who did display that. I did hear of one or two people who are speaking and kind of have a profile over you know, through these protests, and I mentioned my concerns because I have heard some hateful stuff, not serious, but concerning. But overall, the overall general atmosphere, I see it as being a positive grassroots thing. What really concerns me is restrictions and mandates that I feel you know, have limited. I'll tell you what happened, and I don't want to say where I go to synagogue. And obviously, people who will watch this, if they know me, they'll know what I'm referring to. But I have to show my papers to go to pray in shul, and I had a big problem with that. Now, you know, if the shul would have said, please only come if you're vaccinated, that's one thing. But they said that, plus I have to show my proof. They don't take my word for it. So in other words, I'm a member. I've been there many years. You don't trust my word. You need to see proof. Like, show me your papers. I have a very big problem with that. And you know what? And I understood there's older members who want to feel safe. They wanted to start doing a kiddush, So somehow maybe do that for the, but so I haven't gone to shul because I don't feel in principle that one should have to show their papers, medical papers, to go to shul. Anyways, and for me, I'm not able to drive to another place, where they maybe have more relaxed rules. So that was had a big impact for me, and still does. But other than that, I respect people's desire to feel safe, but there has to be a balance. I think there has to be a balance. I think we've been missing that balance. We could shut down the Highway 401 to say, let's avoid having any accidents so that we're all safe and we bring it down to zero, but that's just not realistic.
It's divided the community
Definitely.
in Canada, and it's divided the Jewish community because there's been a lot of criticism of Haredi groups who aren't vaccinating and who are not listening. This was in Montreal. There were riots. The police were called. I'm sure you heard on the news 2 years ago, right? So, I mean, it's been a hard thing for Orthodox Jews to deal with. So you said you couldn't go to shul.
But they suffered the consequences of not following the rules, and they received the consequences. They got sick, and I don't know how many have died. I know in New York initially it was pretty severe, no question about it. And anyone who didn't pay attention, I think, was probably reckless. I would say I don't want to blame anyone, but it's definitely been very divisive. But 2 years on, we're here now, and Pesach is approaching. Are we still going to have to be masked in shul or restricted or whatever? And so that's the question that people have. I think some people have, and the media as well. I mean, I appreciate that you bringing me on to hear the other side, because the media has, for the most part, been portraying this trucker protest as being very hateful and all sorts of negative names. And I don't think that reflects the reality, what I saw when I was there. Especially as a Jew, I didn't feel unsafe.
And they asked you to preach, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about that.
So I put a post up on Facebook saying that if there are any Jews who are from out of town who've come for this and may need a place to eat for Shabbat or whatever, to let me know and I can help arrange them, or maybe we'd have a guest or two at our home. And so some Gentiles, non-Jews, were very positive about that, and so one of them, who seems to be connected with the group, she said, well, maybe we'd have you as a rabbi to speak to the crowd, as they do have pastors and others speaking there, and I've heard those. I still haven't decided if I'll do that. I'm not sure, but it's interesting. And certainly if they were very hateful and anti-Semitic as a group, I doubt they would extend such an invitation.
How do you feel about the National War Monument and what happened?
What I saw, there was some teenagers there who were standing on the tomb of the unknown soldier, which is a terrible defilement, I would say. But I think they weren't aware of where they were standing, and then people immediately. So a mistake can happen, and that should be corrected. And then now I hear there are veterans there protecting it, cleaning it, etc. So, if we make a mistake, especially in Judaism, we make a mistake and then we correct it, it's okay. I saw the Terry Fox monument as well, the statue. People bring flowers now. It's being respected. And I saw pride flags at the protests, and there's no homophobic. I don't see that. I just don't see the way it's being portrayed by the media, by the prime minister. Sadly, I don't see that. I see grassroots, common, salt of the earth people who happen to have, massive machines at their disposal, and they were able to park them on Wellington and get attention. And I feel that there's a voice for those who have felt suppressed for a long time, and there are many public servants who have lost their jobs.
So I'm just wondering, why did you decide to reach out and try to speak about this to me? And even though, as you said, it's not getting a lot of room.
I have spoken out on social media, And I've probably lost a few friends, but I am not going to stay silent. I'm just not going to crush myself. I can't. You invited me to speak, and I appreciate that. The convoy has invited me to speak. I don't know if I will. Maybe I will. Preach a message of peace and positivity and connectedness and unity under God. We should. To be a Jew means to be free from the tyranny of man. That's what Exodus was all about. And we serve Hashem, we serve God, we don't serve mankind. And when it goes too far, when there's overreach, as they say, we should speak out and have a voice. And I hope the government will listen to the people and find a way to compromise, find a middle path,
Well, now, we've seen that the mandates are going to be lifted in Ontario, on Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan. They're lifting their mandates as well. Ontario announced it on Monday that they're lifting theirs in March 1st, March 15th. So, how does that sit with you? The new news that the mandates are lifted, masking is going to be also maybe lifted. How do you see that?
Masking is staying on even past March. But we'll see. I think that those are certainly steps in the right direction. I think those are positive things. Again, people are free to choose how they want to be. I think there should be a certain level of freedom as far as, what restrictions there are. So I don't know what will happen. For me, going to synagogue is very important. Freedom of worship is a fundamental human right, as well as freedom of assembly. All those things have been restricted, and so I look forward to that, and we'll see how far they go. I mean, the sooner they, I don't believe in I do believe in a government, a democracy being run properly. How that pans out, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't speak for anybody other than myself, but I look forward to the lifting of those things. I just received an email just before I was going to speak with you from our JCC right here in Ottawa, and it was exciting to hear. Like, now they're lifting the limits, and now everyone can come, and obviously still keeping certain distances, but there's no more restriction on the capacity. So they're opening up there. So it's a positive thing. I think we're going to have a very optimistic spring, coming into Pesach. And so we all look forward to that, I'm sure. Even those who are for the other side. Even the ones who were the counter protests were speaking, it's just a breath of fresh air to come outside and be with other people of like mind,
The protests are against mandates, but the mandates are provincial. Did the trucker, you realize that a lot of people are confused that this is not a Trudeau thing. I mean, the trucker thing is Trudeau thing, but each health department in each province makes their own, you know what I mean? And a lot of people don't really understand why they're coming to Ottawa when it's a provincial matter.
It's very simple, Ellen. It's the truckers, if they would go into the United States, even if the United States wouldn't have a vaccine mandate, when they would return, after they delivered their goods and they would return to Canada, if they were not vaccinated, they would have to be in quarantine for 2 weeks.
I understand that. That's not what I meant. But
that's what they were protesting. The border is a federal.
No, I understand that. That wasn't what I was trying. I get that, and I hear you, and you're right.
Okay.
But what I mean is that you said a lot of other people were hanging on or coming to protest that are just fed up and are not truckers, right? They're just families. You mentioned what have you that came. So do they realize that Ottawa has nothing to do with these provincial mandates, right? That are about
this is a universal
and the JCC. I just want to know if they, when you talk to them, do they are they politically aware?
Well, there are people in Ottawa from New Brunswick, from PEI, from Quebec, from everywhere, from Alberta, from BC. I think this one issue has affected everybody equally, obviously in various different variations, province by province, but overall, the vaccine mandate has been universal. The masking mandates has been universal. It's affected the kids universally. Even the United States, you have to be vaccinated to cross the border, as well as Canada to cross the border. So it's a universal thing. So those nuances, I mean, how would that matter, really? I mean, everybody wants to get back to normal again. You know, what I say to people is the truckers don't want anything. They just want return to where it was 2 years ago. You know, all these new things that have been imposed on us, these are all new. You say that it's been argued in Parliament. I'm sure some have, perhaps, but as one member of Parliament stood up and said, she said that most places there's been an end game, an exit strategy, but with the federal government there hasn't been. There's like no end in sight. So we are looking for that light at the end of the tunnel.
We all are. And it's been really great to hear your voice. I'm so glad that you agreed to come on the CJN Daily, and it's been really great to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ellen. It's been really nice meeting you.